Giants fans, we got a problem. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. We got some major breaking news across the NFL that directly impacts the New York Giants and their likelihood to hire John Harbaugh as their next head football coach. We're going to break it all down on today's show, but this is why you subscribe. No matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, it's my lone off day of the week, but still wanted to hop on the channel and get you guys the information that you deserve. If you love the Giants and you want multiple free videos every single day, hit that sub button. And if you are subbed, hit the like button right now. The NFL news that directly impacts the Giants' chances of hiring Jim Harbaugh: the Miami Dolphins have fired. The Miami Dolphins have fired their head coach, Mike McDaniel. And you might be saying, well, Marshall, why does that matter? They only fired him for one reason, and it's to go and make John Harbaugh their head coach. And you would think the Dolphins wouldn't fire McDaniel unless they knew that there was a very strong chance and maybe even a very strong interest from Harbaugh and his camp that he would want to be the next head coach for the Miami Dolphins. Yesterday, the betting odds suggested that the New York Giants were runaway favorites. I would be curious to see what those are right now that the Miami Dolphins job is open and that there are strong connections to Harbaugh, Miami, their potential next general manager, and Florida overall. I want to read this tweet from Albert Breer. It's worth mentioning that the Dolphins put in 5 GM requests on Monday. The Dolphins, they do not have a GM, meaning John Harbaugh might be able to hand select that GM. I'll read it again. It's worth mentioning that the Dolphins put in 5 GM requests on Monday. The one on Chargers assistant GM Chad Alexander didn't go in until Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday? The day John Harbaugh was let go by Baltimore. Miami owner Stephen Ross has a lot of history with the Harbaugh family. And it has been widely reported that if John Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach for any team, he is going to likely want to work with Chad Alexander, the assistant general manager for the Chargers, who has worked with the Harbaugh family for what is like the last 2 decades. Not good. Not good. And if you're connecting the dots here, sounds like John Harbaugh wants to work with his own GM. And John Harbaugh wants to have say in ownership. Not say in ownership, say in decisions. He wants a part of decision-making power. And he'll be able to do that if he works with his right-hand man, Chad Alexander. I don't feel good about John Harbaugh being the next head coach of the New York Giants at this moment, to be quite frank with you. Connor Hughes saying there are outside factors of what the Giants offer that he will find appealing. When it comes to the Dolphins, John Harbaugh's daughter goes to school at USF. No state income tax. Ability to pick his own GM. Doesn't mean he will take the Dolphins over the Giants, but need to view it without blue lenses. And I totally agree. And I think the Giants are still most likely the favorite to hire Harbaugh as their next head coach. But it has dwindled, and the Miami Dolphins are now in the thick of it to be the next head coach. I think it's a 2-horse race between the Dolphins as well as the New York Giants. And, man, the Giants need to step their game up. If John Harbaugh wants to work with his own GM, fire Joe Schoen. Fire Joe Schoen. It's that simple. If you choose to be a Joe Schoen-run organization over a John Harbaugh-run organization, you're going to continue to be one of the biggest losers in the NFL, just like you've been since 2017, just like you've been in the last 3 years with the second most losses. This is concerning news. I'll just say that. Mike McDaniel has been fired. John Harbaugh's interest to the Dolphins continues to heat up. Ian O'Connor saying, I guess with the Miami Dolphins news, maybe time to update my scorecard. I understand that John Harbaugh's ties to ownership and the potential GM. He says, but I'm sorry. If I'm a 63-year-old coach, I'm not taking a job without a quarterback already in place. And that is something that I think does benefit the Giants. I think they're a better football team than the Miami Dolphins. I think they have more talent on this roster. I think they have more flexibility in the immediate future when it comes to salary cap. And they have a quarterback, and one that John Harbaugh reportedly likes, and someone that he reportedly would want to work with. I guess we'd have to figure out how much how much Harbaugh actually believes in Jackson Dart. But all signs and all reports have kind of pointed to that he's a fan of him, and he would want to go and work with him. I just don't see why the Miami Dolphins would fire Mike McDaniel, and then I don't see why the Miami Dolphins would make a late addition to their GM search, assistant GM Chad Alexander of the Los Angeles Chargers, to the mix the same day John Harbaugh was hired, and we all know that Alexander is the GM that John Harbaugh reportedly wants to work with. Peter Schrager saying, as of last night, the Miami Dolphins had no contact with John Harbaugh or his camp per sources. Says, I'd expect that to change. And if you're connecting the dots, Chad Alexander, and interviewing for the Dolphins GM job, has a long history with Harbaugh from their Baltimore days and now with the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. Man, I tweeted this out. Losing out on John Harbaugh would be the biggest loss for the New York Giants organization since the 2000 Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens, funny enough. Long way to go. A lot to continue to break down. If you want John Harbaugh to be the next GM of the Giants, hit that thumbs up icon right now. There was some other news for the New York Giants that has come out over the last couple of hours. The Giants are going to interview Adam. I can't even think straight. I'm flustered. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm flustered. If you can't get John Harbaugh, that is such an indictment on what Joe Schoen has done over the last 4 years. And anyone with a brain bigger than a peanut knew that he should have been fired. If Joe Schoen is the reason you don't get John Harbaugh and you continue to employ Joe Schoen, you deserve to lose all your fans. You do. The Giants will interview Antonio Pierce for their head coach vacancy. So another interview going down for the Giants. Antonio Pierce coming in. I'll be honest, I don't think it's a legit interview. I think it's so they can fulfill the needed in-person interviews with minority candidates. Unfair to Antonio Pierce. The Rooney Rule was put into place for the right reasons. But if I'm the Giants and I want to zero in on John Harbaugh, I shouldn't have to go talk to Raheem Morris, who's reportedly interviewing today. And I shouldn't have to go talk to Antonio Pierce, who's reportedly going to interview either tomorrow or Saturday. So, yeah, news of the day. Mike McDaniel has been fired. A lot of people believe that the Giants and Dolphins are now favorites to hire him as their next head coach, and Antonio Pierce is getting interviewed to be the Giants' next head coach. A lot of stuff going on. We'll keep you up to date. Hit that sub button. Let's go Giants.